All right, everybody. Our next pitch podcaster is from north of the border, and Gary Hibbert is a full-time real estate investor, licensed and award-winning real estate agent, author, and educator. In 2008, he made a decision that would be life-changing by purchasing his first investment property. Through hard work and dedication, Gary left the corporate world to become a full-time entrepreneur in 2014. Today, not only does he have a remarkable real estate investing portfolio and successful business, Gary continually inspires that same change that transformed his life into others. So we are honored to have this badass from north of the border. Gary, what's up, man? How's it going today?
Man, it is going good. I'm enjoying life. I'm enjoying everything that's happening. It's fun, man. I'm just enjoying the life that I've designed, and I want to help other people do the same thing as well, too.
So, let's talk about that a little bit, because I know that your podcast features that. So share with everybody what your podcast is. I mean, you guys can check it out at massmediasummit.live as well, but I love to hear from the master himself. Share your message and kind of what your podcast is all about and its focus.
Yeah. So, you know what? Why don't I maybe just talk a little bit about the beginning, and then I'll kind of get into the podcast. I think that'll kind of help to shape what it is that where I came from and what I'm doing today. So, back in 2008, I knew that something had to change for myself. I was living paycheck to paycheck. And in that year, I started investing in real estate. And how I did it was I learned from some of the best real estate investors in the industry. I took them out for lunch, took them out for dinner, picked their brain, went to mastermind events. And that really changed my life dramatically. It allowed me to quit my full-time job. And in doing that, I then started a podcast called Real Talk with Gary, Wealth, Health, and everything in between. And so for the podcast, it's really three main things that I kind of like to focus on. And so let me kind of go through each of them. So number one, the very first thing that I like to talk about, and some of the guests that I have on there, is talking about real estate investing. It's not just about creating financial freedom, but it's also about creating financial security. Yes, you can create financial freedom from it, but sometimes just having one property or even just two investment properties can completely change your whole life. So that's what I really want to kind of get across, that it's a great way to create security. Having just one property is almost kind of like equivalent to having, one ATM. And that's really what real estate investing is all about. It's what you want to have in your portfolio is at least something that is going to be able to outpace inflation. And one of the best ways that I've found to be able to do it is through real estate and owning that hard asset, brick and mortar, something tangible that you can see, feel, touch. And the good thing with real estate is that, the banks insure it. And so unlike, say, a stock or a mutual fund or a GIC, those things aren't insured. So those companies go belly up. Your money's gone. But with real estate, if that property burns down, you got the right insurance, they'll rebuild it for you. And so that's a really good asset that you want to have in your portfolio. No matter what, during good times or bad times, guess what? Everybody always needs somewhere to live. And we talked about this earlier, but listen, it's not about trying to time the market. I know people are like, okay, well, look, I'm going to get into the market. Maybe not right now. Let me wait until the interest rates go up, or let me wait for them to go down, or let me wait for this policy change. But don't try to time the market. It's about spending time in the market. The longer you're in the market, the better you're going to do in real estate investing. And when you're purchase for cash flow. It's not always just about appreciation. Yes, appreciation is great. Yes, that's something that you want to obviously have in your investments, but that's not the main reason why you're doing it. You want to buy these properties that are going to give you some cash flow. And the guests that I have on there, they're going to talk about where to invest. Where's a great place to invest? Why would you invest there? Is there infrastructure change that's happening? Is there population growth that's happening in that area? Is there job growth in that area? So all of those things it is what really contributes to buying a great real estate investment property. And the guests that I have in this show, they're local experts, sometimes not only just local, but, experts right across Canada and even in the US as well too. So it's about the fundamentals of real estate investing. So now once I understand, or you understand the importance of having real estate, and that's the wealth piece. Now, there's no point in having wealth if you don't have your health. And so the health piece is very, very important as well too. And for that, really what I want people that are coming on who can help you understand the importance of living a healthy lifestyle, and the thing with what's happening out there in the market right now is that there's so much information out there. Should you be on a keto diet? Should you be a vegan? Should you be fasting? And so with all that information out there for you, instead of you trying to be the expert and trying to, go through all that information, why not listen to the experts? And those are the type of people that I'm bringing on the podcast, because look, at the end of the day, you've got one body. And if you got but one body, then you might as well treat that body like a temple. And also, the importance of exercising. And I'll share with you one thing that I've done that has allowed me to get up in the morning and hit the gym, is I try to trick my ego. And I learned this from a guest that I actually had in the podcast, where he says, all you do is tell yourself, I'm going to go to the gym for 1 minute. And so if you do that and you go to that gym and you hit that treadmill, nobody hits the treadmill for 1 minute, right? So the key is to just get into that gym, look after your body, and eat healthy. And then the third piece that is super important, I think this is what ties everything together on my podcast and the guests that I bring in, is the mindset piece. And the mindset piece is, something that has completely changed, I would say, my whole entire life. And it really kind of boils down to, what are you listening to? Turn off the TV if it's giving you that negative stuff like the news, and you got to be really careful with what you're putting into your mind. So when I look back on this whole entire journey that I've been on, the one thing that I tell people, and the one thing that has changed my whole entire life, is my philosophy. So when I take a look back over the 10 years, the government hasn't changed a whole lot. Taxes hasn't changed a whole lot. My raise at work when I was building my portfolio really hasn't changed a whole lot. So what changed? My philosophy. And so once you're able to change your philosophy, once you're able to get that mindset to where it needs to be, then anything is possible. And that is where you can really now start to design your own life. So those are the three main components. Those are the type of guests I like to bring in a show. And it's all about education and sharing the wealth of knowledge and information that's out there. And so that's essentially what my podcast is all about. Real Talk with Gary, wealth, health, and everything in between.
Love it. It is an awesome podcast. Let me bring back my video there. You were just rock and roll, and I was like, this is important. He needs to have the screen by himself there on sharing that stuff there. So I'm literally typing down nuggets on the stuff that you're sharing there. You've done a really great job with your podcast in not only providing us 3 nuggets on a consistent basis, but it's also led and helped you in building your community, correct, there locally?
Yeah, exactly. It has.
What's been the biggest surprise from having your podcast that's really kind of you didn't expect or were surprised to find out or have happen to you?
You know what the biggest surprise is for me is having people from all walks of life in different areas just reach out to me and say, hey, listen, you know what, man, I was listening to your podcast and it's changed my life. Can we meet? Can we get together? Can we have a coffee? And so it's all about giving back. And that's what I like. And so now, not only am I able to just give back to people that I can see or people that are coming out to my events or my local community, I'm now affecting and changing the lives of people in different parts of Canada and the US and you know what, maybe even the world. And that's really what it's all about, right? Is helping as many people get what they want, and you can have every and anything you want, my friend Jim Rohn.
There you go. Exactly. Great quote there. Now, I had somebody ask me, send me a message. Are you monetizing your podcast any sort of way with sponsors or other things that you're doing on a regular basis?
Yeah, that's a good question. And so for me, I've been doing the podcast now for about 3 years. I've only been doing one a month, but now because of the real estate investing and the team that I've built, it's allowed me now to have a bit more freedom. And so with that freedom, this year, I'm really now kind of putting, the pedal down in the metal, and I want to start to grow the podcast. I've really kind of outlined the people that I want to have on the show, and that's going to allow me now to focus more on that part of my life. And so now we have been starting to look at sponsors where now, I can get them some airtime and talk about some of the important partnerships that we have with people that are an essential piece to Smart Home Choice and the brand that we have, right? So yeah, definitely looking into that. Absolutely.
Well, that's good because it is part of your brand now with the Smart Home Choice in your community, and then the investment group that you've put together. Know a little bit more about Gary and his business. I'm just interviewing him about 2 hours ago, actually, on the Nut Closer Show podcast. But that's one of the great things that you talk about is hearing people from other countries or other niches that maybe don't fit exactly what you would expect to come across. I did one thing kind of funny early on in my podcast. Is if you're an international listener, send me a flag. And I had 50 flags show up from different countries of people listening. So it was kind of a cool thing there.
That's amazing.
With podcasting being, what's the difference that you're seeing with podcasting, or is there maybe not one being in Canada compared to, do you know where your listener base is mostly? Is it mostly Canada or a lot in the US?
Yeah, no, a lot of my listener base is in Canada at this point in time. A lot of them are also in other, we'll say like within the GTA and surrounding areas where they may not have known who I was, where I'm on this side of the region, they're over there. And now because of that podcast, they're like, hey, okay, we've got, a similar type of interest, which is real estate investing. And then, so now we're networking, we're connecting and finding great guests that I can now actually bring onto the show and helping real estate investors out there, change their lives one family at a time.
That's good stuff, man.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, any final words of advice before we let you get back on your busy day there, Gary?
Yeah, listen, final piece of advice. Okay, so actually, I'll give a couple of different things. So they're just popping into my head. I've got so many great nuggets that I always just want to keep sharing. But one thing that I think is really important, and especially if you want to be successful, is to be interested, not interesting. And meaning that pay attention to your clients and the people that you're working with, if you're trying to build that business or whatever it is that you're doing, right? So really be interested in your clients, because then they become your biggest fans and they will help to promote what it is that you're doing. So be interested in them, and then and another thing as well too is don't be scared to ask for help. Just be humble. It's okay. There's lots to learn out there. Be humble in it. Learn from people that are where you want to be, and you'll be surprised if you reach out to them. They'll be more than happy to help you. There's lots of great advice out there, great people out there, even like yourself, Scott. What you're doing, and I guarantee you, if someone was to reach out to you, you'd be more than happy to help them. So ask for help. Don't try to figure this out on your own, because there's a proven path out there, and all you got to do is just follow it.
Great stuff, Gary. Hey, man, thanks so much for being on Pitch a Pod Pitch, man, and just really delivering in a big way, man. Great stuff, great knowledge. Do we have any questions for Gary before he let him get back to his day? I think we are good to go, brother. Well, hey, thank you so much, Gary. We'll see you later.
Beautiful. All right. Thanks, Scott, for having me on. I appreciate it, brother. Take care and keep doing what you're doing.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
All right. That's going to bring us on to the next one.